Why don't we just go through the agenda, even though it's
Okay.
not, so.
All right. That's good, actually. I
Well,
want to make sure I got everyone on in the roll call. So
yeah,
Sheila, sorry, go ahead, Ray. I keep cutting
Oh,
you
no,
off.
if you want to go, so meeting commencement, Christian, if you can go through roll call.
Ansonia.
She just dropped.
Okay, we'll expect her back. Beacon Falls, nope. Bethlehem. Bristol.
Here.
Cheshire. Derby. Middlebury. Naugatuck. Oxford.
Here.
Ah, yes. Are you well, I'll get to Seymour as well. Plymouth. Prospect. Seymour.
Here.
Shelton. Southbury. I know they don't have a representative. Thomaston. Watertown. Waterbury. Wolcott. And Woodbury.
Here.
Hi, Mary Ellen. So on the call, we also have David Murphy from MMI. And if there's one caller, and Sarah Radeschi from CTDOT, we also have a caller whose name is listed as Gibb. I want to make sure I get you.
Yes, I'm here.
Who is that?
Paul Gibb. Joanna asked me if I could.
That's right, Paul Gibb. She mentioned in an email. I'm glad to have you. So welcome. We have a small meeting today, and we'll probably be moving through it quickly. All right.
So first item is public comments, if there's anybody here from the public. Next item is approval of meeting minutes, but without a quorum, we can't pass, motions. So just moving on to transportation planning, item number 2, Christian.
Yeah, this is the big program we're trying to promote right now is the CMAQ program, it's congestion mitigation and air quality. This is a nice funding program for projects that can be shown to reduce harmful emissions into the atmosphere. So what I have here is just how projects are going to be scored and ranked by the DOT. We solicit and rank our projects regionally, but then submit to the DOT where they're ranked against statewide projects. And cost effectiveness is where they've put the majority of their weight. So, well, we can take projects from a diesel retrofit.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Oh, no problem, Sheila.
I dropped off. I'm back. I lost my connection, so I don't know
no
what
problem.
Happened. Okay.
So we can take projects from diesel retrofits to hybrid or electric municipal fleets, purchasing of new vehicles for the municipal fleet, trails and pedestrian and bike facilities, as well as traffic signal improvements. Generally, it's an 80-20 split between federal and local. There's no state portion. If it's a signal project, which has also been shown to have safety benefits, we can go 100% federal. So those often are the most popular projects because design and construction is fully covered by the federal portion. It's a reimbursement program. Of course, it's not a grant, so it functions more like those other federal programs. We as a region can submit 4 projects. And so far, we've had no pre-screens or pre-applications submitted to the region. In the lower valley, it looks like Derby will be has submitted a pre-screen for a signal improvement, actually right up towards the Ansonia line on Seymour Drive, just south of the hospital. There's some signals in there that are both leading to congestion, but also safety hazards. So they are being considered in the Greater Bridgeport Valley MPO. As if Ansonia has a project, it'll be considered in that MPO as well. With that.
So Christian, at this point, obviously it's early on in the process. You're saying NVCOG doesn't have any projects that? because
NV
Bristol will definitely submit one.
Good.
Obviously, we don't want to, and we're able to do that. I wasn't able to do it 2 weeks ago, but I just did get, as I indicated before, I had an evaluation done of all our traffic signals, in town, and I just got that. So that would allow us to prioritize and submit an application. And certainly, we would want one, but in all fairness, we could probably submit two and then, drop the other, drop the second one if there's interest from another community,
I think that's
Well-
wise. And this is similar to what happened in Bridgeport. I think trying to have this pre-screen right after the new year, although now we're pretty deep into January. I don't think, I think people are off at the time of year when we would have been kind of putting together these ideas. So maybe in this group, we can kind of think of what would be a good way to rank and score them perhaps a month from now.
That would be good because we plan on submitting one as well. I don't know. Wanted to talk it through first.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I say,
So I don't know.
one thing with the signals, they need to be municipal owned signals as opposed to state owned assets. So that often makes it difficult to find good candidate locations because we're looking, Shelton's got a great project, but it's all on state roads. Obviously Main Street, Ansonia is a state road.
Well, as much as you say that, it started off saying municipal owned, then you start saying state roads, but Bristol owns a lot of traffic signals on state roads.
Okay.
Of course, we still need their approval to touch them, which if someone explained, that's a whole nother issue, but they're city owned.
All right. Well, city owned, that still falls within the, that's applicable.
So we have city owned on state roads.
City, yeah. Let's put it in a package, and we'll work towards that. So I guess we'll keep it loose for the Central Naugatuck Valley MPO, and certainly if anyone on this call is interesting, it looks like we got Jim. Certainly, if anyone on this call has a project coming up. Hi, is that Jim? He's on his phone, so we'll see. If anyone on this call has a project, something in the mind, be in touch with us, myself, Karen, or Mark, and we'll sort of usher that project through the process. Sheila, if you have an idea, let's try to work in the next talk in the next day or two to get that just on
Great.
for Greater Bridgeport Valley MPO. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is that Jim Stewart who just joined?
That's Jamie.
Jamie, sorry, Jamie. Good. So we have Beacon Falls as well. We still do not have a quorum, but Beacon Falls, right?
Okay, so the next item under transportation planning is LOTSIP.
Yes, LOTSIP, we have a little more going on. We won't be able to, again, make a motion for these new projects, but we can say that they were discussed and TTAC has had a chance to weigh in on them when they are presented to the board, unless those on the call feel we should have a full endorsement of these projects. Certainly with the Beacon Falls project, as we'll discuss in a moment, I think we'd like to move quickly on that, so I don't want too much hold up. But if
we would like to move. Obviously, one of the items is even Bristol, so yeah. Not to be too clear, we would like to move it along.
All right. Well, then I can say the programs were discussed, but a motion was not made before the board when we present them there. So we have two new projects for the program. One is a culvert reconstruction in Bristol on Divinity Street. This project generally, as everyone on the phone knows, we don't generally do bridges or culverts. This one falls below the 20-foot threshold. It's a 18 or 19-foot span. So it doesn't qualify for any of those other federal programs that we've previously stated could be a stand-in for LOTSIP, the local or federal bridge programs. So with that in mind, I recommended that it should go before the committee and be considered for LOTSIP in the NVCOG in our discussions with Bristol. Cost is, did I get the cost right? You have it estimated at roughly 300, Ray, is that correct?
I believe so.
And then once the incidentals and contingencies, it would be a LOTSIP grant of approximately 360. The second project is Burton Road in Beacon Falls. I can let Jamie jump in a bit. But the short version of the story is that road had to be closed on December 24th because of a failing substructure, essentially. And it is in pretty bad shape. With that, I can pass it off to Jamie. I know Karen's been out there too. She can fill in some details if she'd like as well.
Yeah. The other thing we're finding out too is the sewer line is directly below where it's failing. You know, the last time I can remember it being rebuilt, it had, you know, wooden cable guardrails, and the truck went off, and they didn't find a guy, you know, until the next morning. And actually, his family was the first to buy the town of Beacon Falls' first hearse tool back in the day. The last time that was rebuilt, and what we're finding out is it keeps failing every year. This year it's getting worse. You know, we went up there to get off the sidewalk, and you know, in the matter of 1 week when we were cleaning snow off, you know, it fell like it'll be about 1.5 inches more. You know, so that's why they chose to get the engineers involved and close the road and, you know, do where the, you know, where the utilities were and stuff, because we couldn't find any plans.
And Jim, sorry to like, why is it closed? Because of like failed utilities or poor subbase or poor underlying material?
It's on the side of a bank, you know, with a ravine, and the sidewalk in the road, that lane actually keeps sinking. So, you know,
Right, there's a retaining wall that's failing. That's the issue.
Oh,
underneath the newer sidewalk. It's one of our main hubs into the that side of town, up between the apartments, you know, the old Uniroyal building. There's a picture right there.
Royals behind. Oh, there it is. You can see it.
It's the wall on the right-hand side with the fencing there, and looks like Jersey barrier. There's a parapet wall. But right on the other side of the wall, it just drops off. There's a water course. It appears that the wall was built over top of like a stone rubble base. So, you know, geez, I got a cat in front of me. It was never, you know, it probably was never constructed as well as it could have been way back when. So it's shifting. I was out there, you could see obviously that the things are separating. It does appear to be a, you know, sort of a critical situation.
That picture right there you're showing doesn't really do too much justice at the moment, because it actually doesn't look too bad in that picture. I don't know when that Google Earth picture was taken, but just went past the part that failing here.
Worst of it's right in here.
Yeah, right about just past where that piece was broken out, going up the hill.
Oh yeah. You see that.
But it's, you know, not worse than that right now.
So this project comes in as both a priority. Obviously, we'd like to be this is actually being brought into the program as a backup. The town is actively pursuing special aid through the legislator. But if that were to fail, we want to make sure that the town can then switch gears over to another program quickly. It's a qualifying project on a minor collector. Certainly meets some of our priorities as a region when we look at trying to use these funds in the best way possible. So current estimate on that is about 3 million. So I've put it in at 3.6 with the incidentals and contingencies. Further questions from the group about the project? I will say it also connects sort of the town center to the town hall, the elementary school, and a number of other municipal and civic buildings. So it is heavily used. Oh, we got Naugatuck.
Hey, just talk to Roger. Do we know anything with Schultz? I know they came.
Right.
Can I give you a call? Or
So again, we can't make a motion, but certainly for any comments, I'd love to now, and we'll let the board know that a subgroup of the TTAC has had a chance to comment on this project. No further comment?
No.
I'll keep going right with LOTSIP. We have two projects that have had cost increases. One is ADA amenities in Watertown. This is ramp construction. This project came into the program in 2015 in that first solicitation. It's been marooned at DOT on the application process. There's a bunch of back and forth. Ultimately, it needed to go through the District 4 review. Am I sure? Yeah, I am. District 4 review.
I mean, that's twice as much, right?
It's yeah.
Over twice as much.
Yeah, it's more than twice as much.
What happened?
Well, I'll let Karen. She's followed it closer, but from Roy's emails, basically going through, they wanted to do a rather simple project, go through the ramps throughout their downtown, both the Watertown and Oakville, and replace the ramps that were non-conforming with more or less on site. Through the District 4 review, they've essentially, and correct me, have needed to design a ramp for each location specifically. Now this is Roy coming in now, so he might be able to add something. He must have heard us talking about him. His ears must have been burning.
That's how I, understand it too, that it had to do with the, because the district had to get involved because there a lot of them are on state facilities, and yeah, they just had to do a lot more detail, and it increased the cost dramatically.
Yeah. We can, Roy, good morning, Roy. Looks like you're connected. I don't know if your audio is working, but we were just discussing the ADA ramps in Watertown and some of the causes that led to the dramatic cost increase. Karen and I both brought up the District 4 review process that led to a lot more detail and much a greater engineering process. I don't know if your audio is working and you can chime in, but you're welcome to, or we can swing back to you once you get it going. It's gonna look in the chat on the participants. All right, well, we'll go to the next, and if Roy's able to get his audio going, we can discuss that further. The next project is Bungay Botsford and West Church Roads in the town of Seymour. This is a rather long project. It's almost 2 miles long. So as a starting point, it's a big project. In discussing with Brian quickly before this meeting, what has led to a lot of the cost increases is the completion of the professional survey. And with that, I'll pass it over to Brian.
Yeah, thank you. So as you can tell, yeah, this is even more than double the original estimate. So after we did the full survey and the full analysis, we need retaining walls, we need additional stormwater, we need a good amount of excavation, which dramatically increased the estimate. One of the big issues that we ran into is we've now had some experience with a few other lots of projects and a few other DOT projects. And when applying the DOT standards, where we originally thought that wasn't going to be part of this grant program, the unit costs and the DOT standards dramatically increase a lot of the estimates that we originally had. So those are the primary reasons that this estimate has increased so much.
And from an arm's length away, I mean, looking at a 2-mile long project, the $5 million price tag, $5.5 million price tag under the LOTSIP program just seems to be about what we're doing. I don't know if you'd agree with that, Karen.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Now, not to necessarily get off topic, but we're coming in Bristol with a LOTSIP project on the city portion of Wolcott Street. Now, when we do a road project, we don't structure our bid items exactly like the DOT. Like, for example, we'll have an item for, whether it's reclaim or a full depth reconstruction, like on a square yard basis, including, the binder. And then we'll have like a square yard, price, on the top course. Is that a problem with the DOT, or does a LOTSIP project have to go with the DOT bid items?
As far as I know, you don't have to follow their bid items.
Yeah, I think the LOTSIP guidelines say you can use local standards and you can use your own preferences. But what we found in going through a couple of these, that when we go through the third-party review and then ultimately when we get to DOT with their comments, they seem to be strongly encouraging that kind of assimilation. So we've just started doing it just because it seems to be the easier way to go.
Like for us, if we did, if we were installing 18-inch RCP, when it was pretty consistent, depth, we would just per linear foot, excavation, bedding, everything, where the DOT obviously breaks everything out.
Right.
Yeah, they've since changed over, I think, their system, but and then for years past, they always did everything separately, and now they have a new item that encompasses all of the, trench X and all that. All I can say is one thing that we push as a region and DOT push, or I don't want to use push, it's probably not the best word, but we want projects that are going to last, the 20 years or more. We want to address all the needs, and this has come up before, I think, in TTAC, where even if you have some right-of-way issues and it's going to impact properties, well, that's part of the project. We're not going to just ignore maybe safety issues just because property is going to be impacted. So it is, it's a capital improvement program, and I think it has been difficult for all the municipalities to look at projects that way, because they've got tight budgets and they've never really been able to approach projects with looking at the entire like big picture, like everything. Let's do everything we can to make this the best road possible. So that's just my perspective as to how things have been running with this program. And honestly, we think it's a good thing, because we want to make these roads as as efficient, as safe, long line. We want the pavement to last, all of these things. So I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing a lot of these prices come in.
Okay.
One bit of good news is we've done a handful of other projects where we have been using the unit cost for DOT, and these are outside of LOTSIP and outside of the grant project. These are just local projects, and the actual bids coming in are much less than what DOT is projecting them to be. So
that's true too.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, but they come in so much less that it's honestly, to a certain extent, you set policy by the budget, and if you have such a skewed budget, it adverses the affects the decisions you make.
We just did it.
I would say cases, we do see projects come in less, but not, you know, across the board, they're not coming in way less than the estimates. And sometimes they're pretty close to the estimate, you know, so I don't know that they're all coming in way lower, at least with the lots of projects I've been seeing.
Okay.
So two things I'd like to bring up. One, Roy is on the phone and looks like we've got him unmuted. If he has anything you'd like to add to the, oh shoot, there we go. Shoot, the ADA sidewalk amenities. And the second thing is I believe we have a quorum now.
Oh, so if we do have a quorum, maybe we'll start off with the item that, you know, where he can, you know, speak on if he does have anything, you know, else to add, and then we can move just quickly back up to the action items.
I thought we got Roy unmuted. I'm mistaken. All right, so Roy, you can just interrupt us anytime if your thing gets going.
Can you hear me now?
We hear you loud and clear.
Oh, thank goodness. It's not easy being technologically inept. Thank you for the time to talk about the ADA compliance project. As indicated, the costs increased dramatically. What we did is we designed the project in-house. We submitted to Connecticut DOT District 4 for review because we knew we were going to get a permit. And at that point, we got sticker shock. What happened during the review process, the original concept is we were just going to do the ramps at the intersections, put in pads and call it a day. By the time we got through with the district up there, we were increasing it by hundreds of feet of sidewalk. And the most shocking portion of it to me is anytime we touch the state road, the permit requires or allows for at the permit inspector's discretion is you have to mill and pave half the road that's fronting the project that you're doing. And as you can imagine, that blew out the cost dramatically. So those were the primary drivers of the cost increase. And we are looking at approximately 174 different ramps. So we're talking about a lot of mold fees, a lot of jumping around, and a lot of police protection, which were also a couple of the other bigger items that increased substantially. We did use generous Connecticut DOT unit prices. And as the discussion indicates, our recent experience says that the actual bids are coming in lower, somewhat lower, you know, not half the price, unfortunately, but they are on the generous side in our experience to date, especially given today's bidding environment. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Thank you for your time. If anybody has any questions.
Certainly every district's different, but I would say that we've done a fair amount of sidewalk projects in Bristol on state roads, and they did not make us go mill and pave half the lane.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we don't actually have to do it, but that's the permit condition that they've been imposing. So in an effort to be conservative, we're including that cost.
All right, with any further comments, I'll go back and we'll work our way through the action items, Roy.
Thank you.
Or I mean, it's Ray.
Just going through the action items. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes of December 1st?
Make a motion to
Make a
approve.
motion to approve the meeting minutes of December 1st.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And certainly we can obviously talk about, you know, items. I don't mean to shortchange, but is there a, you know, under transportation planning, the CMAQ, you know, ranking process, there was a recommended motion to accept, as much as there are no projects, correct, Christian?
To date, no one has submitted a project. Now, with Watertown joining, Plymouth just joined, Charlie just joined, and we have Wayne Zaroli. Naugatuck has put their feelers out as well. So currently we have an allotment for 4 projects, but no one's reached out to us. For those who haven't had a chance to look over some of the emails I've sent out, the goal of this project are air quality improvement. So if it's a trail project, if it's a signal project, adding an extra turn lane to an intersection, diesel retrofits, we're going to be ranking everything based on that cost effectiveness is the number one ranking factor for the DOT. But it is a good grant program. It's 80% for most projects, 80% federal, 20% local. If it's a signal project with safety elements, it's 100% federal. Watertown's benefited from this program, has a project running through to redo just about 15 intersections in the downtown. I know Bridgeport's done a similarly large project in their downtown.
So there is no motion, required or recommended at this point, but for municipalities, they should submit if they're interested, submit a project, into NVCOG. And as indicated, before, Bristol will definitely be submitting it for a traffic signal.
Yeah, I'll just say, please be in touch as soon as you can. We'd like to give regional approval or support or endorsement to our program of projects, I'd say at the latest by next board meeting. So we have one in the beginning of February. I'd say we wouldn't want to wait longer than March before we get the board's sign off.
And then just moving down, once again, we're kind of recapping the agenda because we didn't have a quorum, but there is under new projects, there was actually 2 projects. One of them was from, Bristol. It's a Divinity Street, culvert. Certainly TTAC has, and in general concentrates on roads, but this is a culvert that doesn't qualify for any other funding, which is why we'd like to move forward, here in Bristol with the project under LASA. And then Beacon Falls Burton Road has a issue with a roadway section that actually includes some retaining walls that the road is currently shut down. So, once again, if there's questions, we can go back and, completely recap it. Otherwise, you're looking for a motion to recommend acceptance of the new projects into the NVCOG LASA program.
I'll make a motion to approve the new projects.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Aye.
Aye.
And then actually, so motion passes. And then just going on, actually for the Watertown ADA ramps and the Seymour projects, we talked about it, but did we was there a motion made, Christian?
Not yet, no.
So is once again, under that item, there's a recommended motion recommended to acceptance of the cost revisions for the projects already NVCOG LASA. So a motion to approve would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve.
There a second?
Second it. Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? No? Okay. So then now we're on to a hazardous mitigation plan status with Aaron.
Good morning. Thank you, Ray. So we actually have 2 planning processes going on sort of simultaneously right now. One is the natural hazard mitigation plan that I know a lot of you have been involved with. And the other is Resilient Connecticut. And SLR, formerly Malone and McBroom, are the consultant on both of those. And David Murphy is here today to just give a really quick update on both of those projects.
Hi, everybody. So first update is hazard mitigation plan. Not much to say. We do have a big workshop scheduled for next week on the 3rd at 9 a.m. for all the local coordinators and other municipal staff. This will be the second and final of the 2 regional workshops for this project. So as we've always promised, it's kind of a low lift. If you attend this one, you'll be done dealing with us for a little while until the adoptions are upon us. But please do attend next week. That is the one where we'll talk about the municipal actions that come from the state. So some of these hazard mitigation actions might sound foreign to you when you read about them in your in your plan. So if you attend the workshop next week, you'll kind of get to hear about them before you read about them. And then I'll do a quick update on Resilient Connecticut, just because I have the spotlight. And I don't know, Christian, can you give me momentary screen sharing? Do you mind?
I'm not sure. Let me see.
If you can't, it's okay.
No, I'm not seeing
You should
ability.
be
to-
all set, Dave.
That's okay. Oh, all right. Got it. Excellent. All right, so we have this flyer that we're using for all of the COG meetings, and I need to switch back. So what's going on in this project, Resilient Connecticut? We are still working with Circa. We're about halfway through our year-long assignment to help them advance their resilience tools and kind of get to these pilot projects that we've talked about. We do expect that there still will be 5 pilot projects selected in the NVCOG region, probably in the communities that have the TOD potential. I think I gave this update a month ago to you guys. It may sound familiar, but this is just a quick update. We've done a lot of work on the Climate Change Vulnerability Index and the zones of shared risk. And we had a workshop last week on Friday for NVCOG that some of you may have participated in. And we essentially looked at this tool. This is the Climate Change Vulnerability Assessment, or Index, CCVI. And I've sent this flyer over to Aaron, so he has it. At the bottom, there's a link to a viewer tool you can go and poke around on your own. We've also made some progress with zones of shared risk. This is kind of a snapshot of downtown Waterbury, where you can see a couple of zones of shared risk, which are essentially flood zones that are near one another. And so there's a link at the bottom of this page as well to a different ArcGIS online viewer, where you can kind of look at these draft zones of shared risk. And that's it. We'll be back in front of you again with more updates.
Thanks, David.
Thanks. Aaron, any more information under a hazard mitigation status? Or?
No, that's it. We're on track to finish on time, and I think all of the local meetings have been completed. Is that right, David?
I think we have one more, Town of Seymour, which is just has eluded me, but I'll work on that.
Okay, and then moving on, further on the agenda under a emergency management, update, Joanna.
Yeah, thank you for the time today. I'd like to talk about today, 2 things. First of all, Tropical Storm Isaias. Back on January 13th, former President Trump approved the disaster declaration. So in the works, there's through the regional coordinators, reimbursement is happening. If you have any questions right now, go through your regional emergency planning team regional coordinators. That would be John Field, Jacob Mankey, and Bill Turley. I'd also want to highlight.
Excuse me,
yes.
Before you move off that item, so I guess obviously we will contact our regional coordinator, and maybe this is too specific, but for Bristol's case, we submitted a preliminary assessment. We provided backup, but it was a preliminary assessment. Are they just making a reimbursements off of that, or are they coming back asking for more information?
That is a question that I would have to throw over to the regional coordinator.
I can answer that.
Oh, great. This is Paul Gibb. He's our special projects coordinator for Region 5.
Yeah, some of you have probably been through this process before, but the next step here is that there will be what's called an applicant's briefing scheduled for local officials that we should, I'm thinking, get word about that sometime this week. At least that's what John Field, the regional coordinator, thought when I asked him about it. But anyway, on that applicant's briefing, the actual application process will be explained in detail. And yes, information will need to be entered into the FEMA grants portal on what the actual expenses were. Most of the work has probably been completed by now. So instead of going by estimates, you'll have better documentation at this point of what your actual expenses were. And that information will get put into the FEMA grants portal, and reimbursements will be based on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I want to also highlight, sent this out last week. I believe it was suggested guidelines for winter storm. See, highway, sorry about this, sorry guys. Mutual aid for winter storms from the public works community. So I invited Paul Gibb because he's actually the project head, the lead on this project, and I'll give it to you, Paul.
Okay, thanks, Joanna. Again, I work as a consultant for the Northwest, actually for the Region 5 REPT, as well as the Northwest Hills Council of Governments, doing a variety of emergency management types of projects over the years. The way these guidelines came into being was we had a first selectman in the Northwest Hills area who raised this issue. He was concerned about, Public Works Department being knocked down by COVID and not being able to keep the roads adequately plowed in a winter storm event. And he asked if there was any protocols or procedures in place to address that kind of a thing. So I talked with some of the public works guys in the Northwest Hills area, and also with Antonio Iadarola, who is the Danbury Public Works Director and the head of ESF 3 here in Region 5. And drawing on information from those folks, and also some information that we got from the University of Connecticut. I think you guys call it the T2 Center. That's part of the Connecticut Transportation Institute there at UConn. Some information that they provided. We put these guidelines together. Has everybody had a chance to see them, or Joanna, were they forwarded out to everybody that's on the meeting?
Yes, I have. I've seen them.
Okay. So really, there's nothing really earth-shaking in these guidelines. They're all pretty self-explanatory and straightforward. I would call your attention to, if you have the document in front of you, the let's see, item number 4 here, where it strongly recommends being familiar with the Interstate Mutual Aid Compact, which is part of Title 28. That's Connecticut's emergency management statute. This provision in Title 28, called the Interstate Mutual Aid Compact, asks that, or actually requires that the CEO of the municipality requesting mutual aid declare a state of emergency, and that the CEO himself actually makes the request for mutual aid to another municipality, or you could make the request through the Region 5 office, John Field, the regional coordinator. Good idea to do this just to be sure that, if any issues involving immunity or damage to property or injury crop up during the course of a response, that everybody is on pretty solid ground if the mutual aid was requested under the provisions of the Interstate Mutual Aid Compact. So I would call your attention to that provision of this. Also, item number 7 here talks about keeping the department status board up to date in Web EOC. Emergency management directors can do this. So if your department is experiencing an outbreak of COVID, or you have members that are needed to be quarantined, it's good to let the emergency management director know and ask him to update your department's status in Web EOC. That way, people monitoring Web EOC, the state primarily, can keep an eye on who out there may be experiencing some issues with COVID, and we can start to plan to respond to assist that department if that becomes necessary. And again, the emergency management directors in the respective towns all have access to Web EOC, and they can update that information for you if you just tell them how many of your members may be, in isolation or quarantine at any point in time. Also, as part of this, of these guidelines, we attached a copy of a policy adopted by the town of Simsbury, whereby they plan to utilize public works employees who may be in quarantine but asymptomatic. In other words, not ill with COVID-19. And basically, these guidelines are this policy involves measures just to keep that individual isolated from the rest of the crew while he is working, and to the greatest extent possible, keeping him, apart from facilities that are used by other members of the department, and being sure to disinfect any areas where that person may have to enter in the course of doing their work. So there is that, and that was transmitted as part of these guidelines as well. So that's basically it. I would recommend that you take a look at the Interstate Mutual Aid Compact, and be sure that the CEO knows that it's best if any request for mutual aid be submitted by the CEO, and also that a state of emergency is declared, because that will activate all of the protections that are in the Interstate Mutual Aid Compact, which is part of Title 28. And be glad to answer any questions anybody may have.
Well, thank you for that, information. I would say that, Bristol, certainly has luckily we haven't had to use it, but we've thought about the same things that have set, policies, similar to what Simsbury has done.
Okay, thank you.
Just, moving on under municipal shared services, John DeCarlo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Very quickly, the two items that I'm going to update you on are, we do have now collection dates for household hazardous waste for the 15 towns that belong to this program for 2021. The first one will be April 17th in Naugatuck at the Event Center on Rubber Avenue. The second one will be at Southbury Town Hall, July 24th. And the last one will be September 25th, Pent Road Recreation Center in Beacon Falls. You'll get to see some of the fine roads, back roads of Beacon Falls on that one, won't you, Jamie?
Yes, definitely.
So those are the three we're doing. I also want to mention that this is something Jim Stewart brought to the group a couple months back regarding the mirror closing, is that not only for the mirror closing, but for the Connecticut Solid Waste Recycling group. We're going to be having a group of our mayors and first selectmen, as well as most likely some key staff people in public works that handle, if any of you are the point person for municipal solid waste disposal. This is the mirror closing that's going to happen in the middle of next year is going to impact the mirror towns directly. It's going to also impact a lot of towns indirectly. And our mayors and first selectmen are starting to ask us to look into this. I'm going to mention it to the group, as Jim Stewart mentioned it, that this is something that if you are interested in serving on this group or being part of the discussions going forward, it's something that's on your radar, just please let me know. It's going to be something that is going to take a precedence, I think, this year, because they're not going to wait till next year when they suddenly have to make a decision. We have to start looking at things now. So I want to mention that if you are a key point person for municipal solid waste in your town or city, just let me know that you're interested in serving on something like this, and I'll keep you in the loop. And that's all I have for the moment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next item is a item that we always have on our agenda, just a roundtable discussion on what's working, what's not. I guess just from Bristol's perspective, certainly COVID continues to be a challenge. At this moment in time, we actually don't have any employees that are with positive tests or quarantine, but I probably every other week we certainly have a couple. so far we have managed, and it hasn't severely impacted the department, and it certainly hasn't limited the level of service that we have provided. But I don't know if anybody else has any items to share with the group.
I have a question for Kristen.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said you sent out, emailed us on the ADA compliance stuff for like doing sidewalk ramps. Did you send out that information? You said I came in late into the meeting.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so we had there's two things that you might be thinking of, and I just want to make sure I cover them both. One was the project that Watertown is funding through LOTSIP, and it had a cost increase due to design review from District 4. The other one is the CMAC program, which is about air quality improvement. Congestion mitigation and air quality improvement. So that program, it's a funding program that takes on projects that often are pedestrian focused. However, you have to be able to clearly show the air quality improvement. So if you were adding a new section of trail, you have to be able to show, all right, well, this trail will take folks out of their cars because now they're going to be more willing to use this beautiful access. Okay. So that's that job. But do reach out if you have any questions about the CMAC program.
I will do that.
Like I said, the final application date with the DOT is April 7th. However, we'd like to give all our communities forewarning if they've been improved and endorsed by the COG. So we'd like to do that maybe in a month from now.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from anybody in the group? If not, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
You guys want to stay? Oh, Glenn.
Oh, and there you go. All in favor? All right. Thanks for your participation and time. Maybe a day will come when we meet in person again.
That'd be nice.
Yes.
That'd be great, Ray.
Have a good day, everybody.
Yeah, have a good day.
Good day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.